Hey everyone, so today's video is going to be on self-harm. What is it and why do we do it? So as I said, I'm going to be talking about self-harm. The first topic, as I said, is going to be about what is self-harm. So a lot of people know self-harm as people cutting themselves on purpose. And that is really literally what self-harm is. However, self-harm is hurting yourself on purpose. However, it's not just cutting. And I really think people need to understand that it isn't just cutting. There's lots of different ways that people hurt themselves. For instance, you have burning, scratching, head banging, punching walls, overeating or undereating, exercising excessively, and inserting objects into your body, and poisoning yourself. So there's a lot there that I think, even when I read that before, I was really shocked. Just so we know, I'm getting all my information on self-harm off of mind.org.uk, which I will link below so you can go and check it out. It is a UK charity, but yeah, so when I read that, I thought there was going to be a lot more than I knew, but there was some that I did know about but wasn't really sure. So there is a lot more than people realise. I mean, cutting is definitely one that people just associate with self-harm in general. But as I've just shown you, it's a lot more than just cutting. So I'm just going to go on to why people self-harm. So I have a list here. So people self-harm for many reasons. It could be pressures at school or work. It could be bullying, money worries, sexual, physical or emotional abuse, bereavement, illness or health problems, difficult feelings such as depression, anxiety, anger or numbness. There's so many people that can suffer with all of that and not self-harm. So why do some people self-harm and others don't? I'm going to explain from my own experience now what I feel it is, with me anyway. If I'm feeling numb, if I don't feel like I have any emotion left, hurting myself is a way to actually feel something. It's like I need to feel something, and I hate not being able to feel anything. Any emotion that I need is gone. But with the self-harm, it lets me express how I'm feeling. I can see how I'm feeling on my own body. It can also be something that it can be really hard to explain how I'm feeling. And this is going to make sense to some people, but it's like expressing how I'm feeling on my own body. I feel like it's matching how I'm feeling on the inside. I also find that my self-harm is a sense of control. If I feel that I'm out of control for any reason whatsoever, where my eating disorder and the cutting comes in for me, because I need something to be in control. I need to be in control of it, and I feel that that's the only way I can do that. And this one will make sense to a lot of people who self-harm. I find that self-harming is keeping me alive. I self-harm to live. Kind of makes me see that I am alive and I'm breathing. I don't know, it doesn't make sense. I don't know how to explain that one. It's quite a difficult one to explain. But this is something I want to express really quite strongly. Not everybody who self-harms is suicidal. I really need you to understand that. Just because somebody is self-harming, it does not make them suicidal. it doesn't make them suicidal at all. Okay, I'm not saying that some of them might be suicidal, but I'm just saying, talk to the person that you're worried about first. Don't just presume that they're going to kill themselves, because that might not be what it is. They might have a lot of underlying issues that they need help with. Get them that help. Get them into therapy. Get them the help they need. But I also want to say this: if they don't want the help, then the help you're giving them isn't going to work until they really understand that they need to get better. It is really difficult, especially when you're so worried about your child or a family member or even a friend. But you need to they will get there in their own time, but don't pressure them to do it. Because I find that when I'm being pressured, that's where the control comes in. I feel completely out of control and I need to do it more. Yeah. I'm just going to read a couple of quotes from some people off of Mind, which is anonymous, by the way. There's two quotes, quotes, people have just explained how they feel about their self-harming. So somebody has said, I used to cut myself just so I could feel pain. It let me know I was real and I wasn't in a dream. Now, this I can relate with so much. That's what I was trying to explain about being alive. It was like showing me that I'm here, I'm actually real. And I wasn't dreaming, I was here. And yeah, it was a hard thing to explain, but that explains it really well. And then the second one says, I needed to harm to punish myself for being what I believed then to be a terrible person and to clear the fog in my head. As soon as I did, I'd feel in control, calm, and as though a reset button had been pressed in my head. Now this, I was explaining about my sort of control. And the other bit with it saying, I needed to harm myself to punish myself for being what I believed to be a terrible person. This I can relate to. I feel right now an awful person. I do not like myself. I hate myself. I think I'm an awful person. And so it's kind of like to punish myself for being that sort of a person. I just feel so awful to help myself, and talking about it, it's like, wow, that's how I feel. How can one person feel all that? But I do. And then for me, it's like, again, feeling numb as well. And I've repeated myself, I know, but I don't really care at the moment. Yeah. Now, this is for anybody who calls people who self-harm attention seekers. If you're watching this, please listen to me very, very carefully. Self-harm is not for attention. And I want to say to you, how dare you say this and how dare you say that. But at the end of the day, you're obviously not educated enough to know that it isn't. So that's why I'm asking you to listen to what I say, because I'm actually going to be very nice compared to what I would want to say. Self-harm isn't for attention. If it was for attention, why would everybody who's self-harms cover it up? Why would they hurt themselves in places where you're unlikely to see it? And if you're telling somebody that they are attention seeking, it can make them feel even more alienated than they already do. It can make them not want to get the help that they need. So really do think about what you say before you say it, because it could make it 10 times worse for that person. It can be extremely painful for that person to be misunderstood about what they're going through. You don't want to be that person that stops them from getting the help they need. And if you already know about self-harm and actually what it is, then you know what, you're an asshole. Because if you're still knowing what self-harm is and how somebody's feeling from it, and you're still calling them attention seeking, then you need some help. I'm sorry, I do not have any respect for somebody who calls anybody who self-harm attention seekers. I don't have any respect for you, because it's a mental health issue. It's a mental disorder. It's not something that is going to change overnight. But if you didn't know before and you wanted to know, I'm glad you watched this video, and I'm sorry if I sounded angry and pissy, but I just think people need to understand that self-harm is a serious issue. It's not something to be taken lightly. It is not something to joke about. And it's certainly not attention seeking. Right, next thing. Cleaning. Right, people who self-harm, this is for really, or mums and dads who've got children that self-harm, or anyone who's a guardian of a child who is self-harming. You need to clean the cuts or the wounds or whatever it is. Cleaning your wounds. If you have cut, I really need you to understand that you need to clean them out, because if you don't clean them, they could get infected. And as a lot of you know, on my last video I explained about going to the A&E department because my self-harm wounds had got infected because I hadn't cleaned them properly. Do it thoroughly. I beg of you, because you do not want to have infected arms or legs or whatever it is. I want you all to be safe. And if you're scared about doing it yourself, you can always go to your GP or take yourself to A&E. And okay, I didn't have the best experience when I went to A&E, but you may have a completely different experience, and if it's the only way you're going to get the help you need, then please do it, please. And then the last thing, as I said, I'm going to talk about my personal experience. I started cutting at 11. I started cutting myself at 11 years old. The reason behind it, I had been bullied at school since the age of 6. My dad was being emotionally abusive to me. He, from a young age, from about 6-7 years old, he had started to be quite unkind to me, and he will not admit to that at all. And it just got worse when I turned 11. My little sister was born, and it was an amazing thing to have a little sister, but I was also terrified that he was going to treat her completely differently to me, which was a real fear because it happened. So and then from the stuff that my dad said to me and people at school said to me, I started to really hate myself, and the self-harm has just kind of continued from there. I wasn't suicidal for a long time. I was happy. I wasn't happy obviously, but I was okay. I was coping in a not so great way, but I was alive until I got to 17, and that's where kind of the suicidal thoughts started. I'm okay now though, so don't worry. I have this issue as well. I won't let myself cry in front of anybody. I can do it here because I'm in front of a camera, but even now I'm not wanting to let myself cry. But when I go to see my therapist, I have an appointment with her tomorrow, I just won't let myself cry in front of her. It's like a physical holding back, because before I was judged for crying. I was told I was weak and stupid and pathetic. So I don't do it anymore. I won't let myself do it. I really feel like I'm going to cry in a minute, which is a real problem. I got a question asking me the other day if I still self-harm. Yeah. Also, somebody sent me something on Instagram, telling me to just stop. Somebody was saying to me to just stop. Like, really? Just stop? It's not that simple and it's not that easy. And then when I told them that, they said, well, then tell somebody. And I said, you can't just continue or you'll regret it. The thing is about this, I'm seeing my therapist, I'm seeing somebody from the mental health team that I have now. So it's not like I'm not talking to anybody. People just expect it to change overnight, and it's not going to happen overnight. And it just really upsets me because it's not like I want to be doing this. It's awful, but I do. Somebody had basically said to me that if I carry on, the government will be basically telling my mum to put me into a psych ward. And I was really pissed because she was basically saying to me that I was suicidal. And it pisses me off big time. Because she was saying because I self-harm that I'm suicidal. And it's one of the biggest misconceptions I find. I think I'm going to do a misconceptions video on self-harm because there's so many out there and I really want to educate people into what it is. Yes, I am still self-harming. No, it's not going to change overnight. But yes, I am getting help and I am seeing a therapist. So please, do not tell me that I am not getting help or that to talk to somebody, otherwise I'm going to end up in a psych ward. Because that's probably one of the worst things you could have said to me. I literally broke down in tears when somebody said that to me because it scared me. Especially when I'm getting help, that's the thing. If I wasn't getting help, then it would be a different story, but I am. But people need to understand that it will not change overnight. I don't know how many times I need to be able to say that. I'm sorry for the really long video, but I really appreciate you all listening. I don't know if it's going to go up tonight or tomorrow, but hey ho, who knows. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video, which will hopefully be the misconceptions video. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.